Tell me your revenge story.
Got kicked out of university and deported back to the country for cheating in a relationship. This is not my own story, but one of my friends. My friend was studying abroad while having a long-distance relationship with his girlfriend in our home country. He used to get his maths assignment done from his girlfriend, and he would just submit them. He found another girl in his university, and they both got involved, eventually cheating on his girlfriend. She somehow found out that he was cheating. His university was pretty strict regarding plagiarism. His girlfriend mailed all of the original assignments to the university, explaining to them that they were solved by her and not him. As a result, he got kicked out of university and deported back to his home country.
Finally got my revenge on my old roommate, who was always too lazy to clean out the dishwasher. Have to live with this guy who could not empty the dishwasher properly, despite the dishwasher being right under the cupboard and next to the drawer for silver, where the dude would just empty everything on top of the dishwasher and would leave it for others to do the rest. He would constantly nag about all of us being untidy, etc., but at the same time would defend his GF for leaving pots and pans unwashed. BC, they were too tired after dinner. So how to get rid of them? Step 1, spoil the food. Very easy. Just add 1 sip of rotten milk to the carton of their milk. Add diuretic to the salt shaker. Step 2, add a bit of alcohol to their juices. His GF is a recovering alcoholic. Step 3, after they get into arguments over having just one beer, side with one of them behind their back and spread rumors about their partner bad-mouthing them behind their back. I had some beers with him. Told him just because your GF has a problem does not mean you can't drink. This was his support for her. When she found out, she was furious and got super drunk in a bar and fell off her bicycle on her way back home because she was so drunk. Step 4, add depilatory cream to their cosmetics and shampoo for hair loss. Final step, plant the idea of the relationship making you sick, literally. Don't you feel well, hair loss at your age? I am so sorry, you have been throwing up. I heard your GF is having a setback with her alcohol problem. Looks like you two are making each other sick. Watched them fall apart. She left him and he moved out. It took me almost a year, but it worked almost as planned. Things dragged on for very long, and building a trustful relationship was not easy. Try separating a couple for once. Finally got my revenge, muhahaha. My friend made fun of me, so I ruined his relationship. Some backstory, I 18M, have always had beef with a friend of mine, let's call him Tom. Honestly, I don't even know when or why it started. It's been like this for so long. But I think it all stems from the fact that Tom doesn't like my personality as a whole. He's even talked shit about me behind my back multiple times. Anyway, a while ago I was hanging out with my friends, and he was there since we're part of a larger friend group. He started with his usual snide remarks, and it escalated into actively making fun of me. When it got awkward, since no one was laughing, he said it was a joke and called me a weirdo for not being able to take a light-hearted joke. Things moved on, but after a while, he got back to it, continuously mentioning that nobody here liked me. He's been trying to screw with my relationships with others in the group for a while now. I just gritted my teeth. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing me mad, especially because I mostly knew none of what he was saying was true. But he took it too far. I told him to shut the fuck up, that he doesn't look cooler by bringing others down. Apparently, that hit a nerve way more than I expected. He beelined for my lunch bag and started eating and throwing my sandwiches on the ground while saying, "You can't do anything about it." Now I know it may sound petty, it's just sandwiches, but seeing him act like that and realizing he was right, that I couldn't do anything about it, we were in public, and I wasn't about to get into a fight, something in me snapped. Even if I could cut him off as a friend, it wouldn't change much. He'd still do this shit whenever we crossed paths. In that moment, all the past shit came flooding back, the snide remarks, the jokes at my expense, the embarrassing moments he brought up in front of the girl I had a crush on. And suddenly, I felt nothing for him, no empathy. I wanted him to hurt just like I did. So that same day, when I got back, I started brainstorming ways to ruin his life. I remembered he had a girlfriend, So I created a fake account, knowing he'd fall for it instantly. I followed him from the account, and surprise, he followed back right away. Things stayed that way for a while. I knew he wouldn't text me without an incentive, so I started phase 2 of my plan. Over the next 2 weeks, I started getting closer to him. It began with laughing at his jokes, telling him that what happened was all good. And actually, after some time, we were on good terms. Now maybe this is where I became the asshole. I had the opportunity to move on and be the bigger person. But I didn't. I stuck with the plan. I brought up how I'd been talking to this cute chick, and he told me that a cute girl had sent him a follow request a while ago. I asked him to show me. When he did, I acted surprised and started pushing him to message her. After some persuasion, he agreed, though he said his girlfriend wouldn't be happy about it. I told him not to overthink it, that she would never find out. So he DM'd me on a fake account saying hello. We started talking for a while. A few days later, he asked if I was single. I said yes and asked about his situation. He said he was single too. Then we started flirting. I took screenshots of all of it and sent them to his girlfriend. Now she hates him. Her friends hate him. Everyone thinks he's an asshole and a total piece of shit.
A shitty revenge story. This is not my story. It has happened to a friend of my dad. This has happened over 40 years ago and no one died as a result of that. Joey was on his late teens and was working in a tractor workshop. As he was still a teenager, his voice was still kind of not fully formed, so he would have a very feminine-sounding voice. Hence why all the techs in the workshop would call him Little Lady, and boy, he hated that nickname. Joey Little Lady was the apprentice errand boy for the place. Yes, he helped the techs with some tasks, but he was also tasked with some very menial tasks in the shop. One of those was to brew coffee on a thermos flask a couple of times a day for everybody. Tired of all the hazing and close to leave the place for this mechanics course, he came with a cunning plan. At first he thought about putting dirt in the coffee, but this could actually make people proper sick. As everybody was being a bit shit with him, he knew his payback had to involve shit. He decided to go to a pharmacy in another neighborhood and bought OTC 32 tablets of Bisacodil, a laxative. He must have conferred with the pharmacist to check if the medicine would have serious side effects, and considering this was 1 L of coffee he would brew every day, he knew that on every cup of coffee there must be at least 1 tablet of medication. He took it home, calculated the dosage per liter, pounded the tablets to a fine powder and concealed in a small bottle. The very next day, he brought the suspicious powder in his pocket and incorporated it on the first coffee in the morning, with a bit of extra sugar to conceal any taste difference. After he told everybody, the coffee was served, and as per usual everybody started to have their coffee. Joey Little Lady then had the brilliant idea to close the water stopcock in the only toilet available at the workshop. The first customer managed to have a quite normal dump. He flushed, no problem, but then as the laxative started to have its way into everybody's guts, a queue was quickly formed in front of the toilet door. There were around 15 techs that drank coffee on that day, and every single one of them was dancing by the toilet door by mid-afternoon. By the fourth customer they would enter, be disgusted as there was no flush and do their business to a point. They would soil their own clothes. Joey was covertly laughing his ass off. It was his last day on that stinking workshop, and he could ride into the sunset with a sense of achievement. Years later, Joey would have his own workshop, and would tell this story to his apprentices after a few beers. It took 24 years, but patience pays off. A wedding revenge story. When I got engaged, we were young 20 but mature. We announced to the family and I had asked my bridesmaids to participate. I had my sister, my cousin and 3 friends from throughout my life. We got engaged and picked out our wedding date pretty quick. Everyone was aware of our wedding date with a year advance notice. The planning continued with the wedding. We went to the dress fittings for the bridesmaids and we were having them custom made. Deposits were made. We were all excited. In August that year, 3 months before my wedding, my fiancé and I were invited to spend a day at a local man-made lake on one of my bridesmaids' boats. There were 4 of us in total, 2 couples, my friend and her husband and myself and soon-to-be husband. We each packed a picnic. They also had a jet ski to which my friend rode. When we decided to anchor and eat lunch, we were all in the boat eating. My friend's husband asked my friend if she put the protective thing between the boat and the jet ski so they don't crash into each other. She kept saying it'll be fine. Mind you, we did not ride the jet ski, we were only on the boat. After lunch, we all decided to ride the boat over to the swimming area. As we were making our way, the depth finder on the boat started acting weird and saying the lake was like 900 feet deep, and it was obviously glitching. We all got off the boat, started swimming. When we were done, we went to get on the boat and it was taking on water. It was about halfway under. Long story short, we got towed to shore. Her husband went to pick up the car and the trailer to get the boat out of water. My friend and I went with the ranger to get our other car. My fiancé was left alone with the sinking boat. Mind you, he doesn't know how to swim. He was given the smallest of buckets and told to start bailing water out. He was left alone for a full hour, in the hot sun with nothing but a small bucket, about 1 gallon big. The ramp was slippery, and the boat only kept taking on more water. He rested to take a break when we pulled up. No amount of scooping was going to save this boat. We finally got the boat out once the trailer was there and pulled it out of water. My fiancé and I treated them to dinner since we felt bad that their boat was broken and it was a stressful day. Fast forward to a week before my wedding. My friend pulled out of the wedding. Her reason for pulling out was that it was unfair of me to put my wedding on the biggest party night of the year for Halloween, and she had spent $300 on Halloween costumes. Now again, she knew a full year that my wedding was that day. This was not something that we threw together. The day before my wedding at the rehearsal at the church, my mother pulled me aside and asked me about a letter that she got in the mail. My friend had sent both my mother and myself a letter stating that we will never amount to anything. We will never own a house, we will never have meaningful careers, we will be horrible parents, our marriage will never last, and we basically are losers in this game of life. I also got a detailed bill about the damage to her boat. She wanted us to pay for all damage because my husband was not adequately able to bail the water out of the boat. Reminder, the damage is because she did not put the buoy between the boat and the jet ski, to which her own husband told her to do, and she said no. Let's fast forward to 24 years later. I'm having a nice holiday with my family. My brothers were outside in the front yard and came inside and told me I had a friend outside wanting to say hi. I went outside and it was her. I haven't heard or spoken to her in 24 years since my wedding. We caught up very superficially, but not to be petty, but it felt good to be able to prove her mean letter wrong. I own a house, I have a master's degree, and I have a wonderful career. I have 3 kids, with my oldest graduating college 2 years early and already working a full-time job as a teacher. Although we did get divorced, we did last 18 years and we are still friends. He still comes to our holiday family get-together and we co-parent well. She, on the other hand, got divorced shortly after my wedding. She never got a degree and doesn't have a career. She had meth mouth and was extremely skinny, as though she has addiction issues. I have no problem with people with no college degree or a career. I also do not believe in economic statuses, but in this one instance, it just felt good to prove her wrong and show that I had made something of my life.
When I was 19, I met a woman named Ebony. Our love story went like so many young people's stories go. Hard lessons learned and heartbreak. During our time together, we had a lot of fights and arguments. She would say things to me like, "You're not shit, you're never going to be nothing." Basically saying anything she knew that could get under my skin and cause me harm. After about 2 years of this, I removed myself from the relationship because I could no longer take it. Even though the relationship was toxic and unhealthy, I do not regret it one bit, because it taught me some valuable lessons about things that I'm no longer willing to tolerate in any future relationship going forward. Secondly, we had a son together, which in the end was well worth it. One of the last arguments we had before we separated, I told her the following. "In this game of life, I will not lose, I promise you this. When everything is said and done, I'll be on top and you won't. I hate losing and I will not lose, I promise you this." I will never forget that conversation because it put a fire in me that day moving forward. When I left Ebony, I took my son with me. Eventually, I found a lovely woman and married her. Shortly after marriage, Ebony contacted me asking me to take care of her daughter that she had with another man. Her reasoning was she wanted her daughter to at least be with her brother, and she had nowhere else to send her child. Luckily for her, my wife is an amazing woman. When I told her the situation, she immediately said, "Yes, we will take her." During this time, we had a total of 4 children, 3 from my wife and my son. my wife's response was, "We may not have a lot, but we have food on the table and a roof over our heads. That child need us. I'm not going to sit here and let a child that has nowhere to go suffer." So my wife and I took the child in and raised her as our own. I told Ebony I will take the children and raise them. So I told Ebony the following: "You do not have to pay me child support. You do not have to send any money. I want you to be with our kids and have a good relationship with them, but first you need to be stable. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you 5 years to go to school, get a college education, make something of yourself. This way you can be stable and help raise our kids together." Personally, I felt like this was a good deal for her. I'm basically taking 2 children, one of them that is not biologically my kid nor my responsibility, and raising them for the next 5 years. During this time, my wife and I went to school full-time, work full-time jobs, and I also had a part-time job to put food on the table on the weekends. Over the next 5 years, I watched Ebony do absolutely nothing with her life. Every time I would contact her, she would be partying, drinking, and showing up with new tattoos. Over those 5 years, I would gently remind her what she should be doing with this time. In response, I was told to shut up. I was told multiple times that I'm not her father. I was told how weak, pathetic I am. I'm a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. After 5 years, my wife and I had improved our lifestyle dramatically. I came back to Ebony and asked her what has she done those 5 years, even though I already knew the answer. Eventually, I ended up putting her on child support because she was doing absolutely nothing to help me support these kids at this point, and she did absolutely nothing to better herself. Of course, after those 5 years of receiving literally no help, I'll take that back, that's not fair. She did send 1 hat and 1 jacket. I placed her own child support, and my lord, she flipped her crap. I was every name in the book. She would yell at me about how I was ruining her life, even though I explained to her that paying $180 a month for 1 kid when I'm raising 2 of your kids is a really good deal. I also explained to her that the kids' lunch for one of the children was $80 alone. None of this seemed to matter. Apparently, I was ruining her life on purpose, and it was so unfair, as she would tell me. By this time, I was pretty used to her crap. I would keep my head down and work harder with my wife to improve our life. But I never forgot, not even for 1 second, what I told her all those years ago. I will not lose. I hate losing. During this time, my wife and I got better jobs, and we started working out, getting in shape and focused on our family. At this point, 15 years has passed, and we were still raising all 5 of the children with no help from Ebony. During this time, she had to come to my state to talk to the judge about why she wasn't paying child support. At this time, she has not seen me or the children in years, 5+ or more. When we got out of court, I had to literally beg her to come to my house so she could see the children, because she was not going to. I'm not going to lie, what happened next was one of the best feelings of my life, and I will never forget it. Keep in mind, she is still telling me up to this very point, just a few days ago, how much of a piece of shit I am. Ebony and her boyfriend pulled up at my house and got out of the car. I could see it all over their faces as they looked around the property. I greeted them, and as I was doing so, I noticed her jaw/mouth was literally open in amazement. The first thing her boyfriend said was, "Man, I'm not going to lie, you have a beautiful house and nice cars." Ebony said the same in disbelief. I remember Ebony asking me how much land I actually owned. So, me wanting to rub it in her face a little bit, I took her to the edge of the road and point far into the distance and said, "You see that driveway way down there? I own everything from that point." Then I took her to the backyard, which is even more beautiful, and told her how much land I own going back that direction. At this point, we have not even made it inside the house. When we got inside of my home, I took her on a tour, and all I could hear throughout the walk was her boyfriend saying how beautiful my home was. He made the comment that I was doing it big over here, lol. During this time, Ebony has not seen my wife because she was in her office working and about to get off, but I was waiting for that moment. Because my wife had lost a lot of weight, started working out, and got a tummy tuck, and looks really fucking good, and I knew that would get to her. and it did get to her because she brought it up the following week about how cute I must think my little bitch ass wife is, her word not mine, but my wife found it hilarious. As I was taking them around the house, I took them downstairs to my man cave and was showing her boyfriend all my cool little toys. My multiple gaming monitors and the PS5 had just came out 2 weeks prior, and I had one, and my collection of guns I have. The more praise and props her boyfriend gave me, the angrier she got. I could see it on her face. Her boyfriend's is actually a really nice guy. I've been knowing him for years at that point. He was willing to give us props because he knows where my wife and I started. He knows my wife and I didn't have anything in the beginning. We were just living in a trailer, busting our ass to get something and raising 5 kids all at the same time. As they were getting ready to leave, Ebony said, "I have to give it to you. You have a wonderful life and you worked hard for it. Man, I wish I would have done the same." At this point, I gently reminded her of our conversation all those years ago, when I told her I'm not going to lose. Ebony looked me in the face and said, "You said you weren't going to lose, and you were right." I explained to Ebony at that time that I didn't hate her. I never hated her. Even after everything we've been through, all I ever wanted was the best for her and our children. That's why I was willing to take care of them and give her the opportunity to have the exact same things I had. Honestly, at that point, I think it finally started to click for her for the first time in all those years. I had no way of knowing this at the time, but that was the very moment when Ebony became severely depressed and started drinking very heavily. I would not find this information out until years later, talking to her boyfriend. I knew she was drinking, I just didn't know it was that much. Over the next 2 years, she would sometimes call me up, upset, angry / crying / self-loathing. A lot of her anger towards me became passive-aggressive. She would make statements like, "We all don't have the perfect wife," or "We all can't take multiple vacations a year." At this point, all of my children were grown, or at least to the extent that Ebony and I no longer needed to have much, if any, conversations. Then one day, out of the blue, Ebony calls me up. I can immediately tell that something's off. She wasn't sounding like herself. Ebony begins to tell me that she is in the hospital and her liver is shutting down, and the doctors told her that if she has one more drink, she'll die. Keep in mind, I did not know she was drinking that much. As Ebony sat on the phone with me, all the hate, all the anger was gone. For the first time in almost 20 years, we had an emotional conversation that wasn't built off of anger. She cried on the phone with me. She told me how sorry she was for everything. We apologized to each other, and she begged me to take care of the children. She made me promise that I would always take care of them. She told me how scared she was. I believe her because I could hear it in her voice. I'm not a very emotional person, but I'm not going to lie, I will never forget that conversation, and I think about her a lot. Ebony died 2 days later on the floor of a hotel room by herself. Several months after her passing, I called up her boyfriend to check up on him to see how he was doing. As we were talking, I mentioned to him the phone conversation I had with Ebony when she was in the hospital. Apparently, he was not aware of this conversation.
Scammed for $20, so I ruined her week. A few years ago, freshly 18, was looking for a lash kit. Found a seller on Facebook Market W, a beauty professional page. The page was kind of dead, no posts, very few followers, but old, and used her real, very unique name, which felt reassuring. She said she had just one kit and wasn't a regular seller. I asked why. She said she bought it for a class she missed, so now was reselling. Fair enough. I asked 3 more times if the kit was brand new. She swore it was. We met at a mall. I was running errands, hands full, so I trusted her and didn't check the kit. Dumb move. Got home. Some pieces were dirty, others missing. I was shocked, but mostly offended about being scammed by such a dumb, lazy person. Like FFS, at least try. Clean your shit and make it look new so no one finds out. I told myself it was just $20 to forget about it. But I couldn't see it wasn't about the money. It was about being evil, lying, and not even being able to do so we care. Someone could have bought her stupid used kit, but no, she had to go full sleazebag. I started digging the likes and followers from the page from where she had sold me the kit, found her real profile and saved it. I messaged her page with photos of the dirty missing stuff, Still hopping this was a dumb mix-up. She hit me with no, it's new, without bothering to address the literal proof I sent, and then blocked me. Cool, now I don't feel bad for what I'm about to do. I'm very good at stalking. It's a skill I try not to use. BC, I tend to go into rabbit holes and it's unhealthy, but now. I started from her personal profile that I had saved. I even found out the husband had a kid from a previous marriage who went to NC, and I think I know why. BC, comparing the dates his and Scammer's kids were born, and the date he got divorced from his first wife. The math wasn't mathing. Next day I commented screenshots of our convo under her closest relatives' posts. Is X your family member? She scammed me for 20 sad bucks. Are these the family values? I needed her to know I wasn't playing. BC, then I messaged her real profile like, hi, remember me? The girl you SCMMED. Apparently she was a cosmetologist, so I dragged her for selling a dirty kit, knowing these substances go near the eye and that could go so badly. I said if she didn't return the money, I'd blast her info everywhere. Her 5 Facebook profiles, 3 Instagram accounts. Yeah, she had that many. Her and her husband's IDs, phone numbers, car model, license plate, taxpayer numbers, workplaces, names of closest relatives, you name it, on every FB group she used for business. She did this a lot, and would send it to the guy's ex and stepkid too. She called me immediately, nervous, still denying everything, begged me to meet and fix it. Her husband sent angry voice notes threatening to sue. Yeah, right, over 20 bucks. I agreed, meeting W the scammer again the next day. She showed up late, brought some angry teen girl, niece maybe, looking daggers at me, and a huge muscular dude who I thought was supposed to intimidate me but was actually the nicest. I got my money, deleted the comments, blocked her 5 profiles, and peace out.
Throw a stink bomb in my shop. I'll ruin your night. Sometime between 2005 and 2006, when I was on active duty in the Navy, we had a new shop lead petty officer, LPO, come aboard. He was cool, joked around with us, seemed like a decent replacement for our old shop supervisor that got new orders back stateside. Everything seemed fine until he got yanked out of our shop to become the division admin bitch. After that, the shop was beneath him. He did random dumb stuff like volunteering the entire shop for watch or dumbass duty stuff, throwing us under the bus. Petty stuff, basically. Anyways, one day in Homeport, he opens the door, not a hatch, and tossed in 2 stink bombs. Mind you, this guy is a bit older, say 37, 38 years old. So doing something like this is typical for a sailor, but not for an older human. He got lucky and 1-2 of the bombs did its job, stunk up the shop, making us vacate the space for 30 mins till it cleared out. Unfortunately for him, 1 didn't break. I came back to the shop and found this gem on the floor. I quickly stuck into my coveralls pocket for Operation Petty Revenge. I kept it classified and didn't tell a soul of what I was going to do. In fact, I didn't know either. I'm more of a spur-of-the-moment type of guy. I forget the time frame as to when I enacted my petty revenge, but it was finally soon after. I had the pleasure of having to duty with this person once a week. So every week I'd have to spend a full 24 HRS of duty with him and others on the ship. Operation Petty Revenge was a GO. Knowing he was standing watch and wouldn't be back to bed until midnight, I decided to ruin the rest of his night by cracking open the stink bomb, emptying the smelly liquid onto his pillow and blankets. So there I was laying in my rack no more than 12 inches away from him, separated by only a blue cloth curtain, waiting for HT1 to come to his rack. He does his normal routine, gets undressed, grabs clean clothes and his shower supplies and heads off the shower, not knowing what waits for his head when it hits his pillow. He gets done in the head bathroom and does his final steps before sliding into the middle rack. He slides into it, lays his head down for no less than 2 seconds before I hear an "oh, what the fuck, man." By this time, I have rolled over, so if he did pull my curtain open, he'd assume I was asleep, not knowing of what went down and not laying there with big ol' smirk on my face. Remember, I have to keep the operation secret. Lives are in danger. So there he was standing next to his rack, cursing up a storm, and I guess trying to figure out who got him back. Little did he know the culprit was within arm's reach. He finished up his hissy fit and left the berthing for the night, where I slept peacefully knowing he got what he deserved. He never did this shit again, and I don't really recall much ever coming from him again. I see him on FB still as a suggestion. I still get a laugh from it. Wherever you are HT, one payback is a bitch.
My college roommates and her friends would eat all of my food, so they ate brains. I was in college full-time and working full-time, so I had little time to meal prep. I would make enough meals for a few days and store them on my designated shelf in our shared dorm fridge. I'd come home from a very long day and just want to eat and relax, but I'd almost always have no food left. 9 times out of 10, I'd actually walk into them eating my meals. They'd even have the guts to say how good it tasted, and they're sad there wasn't more. I've asked over and over to stop eating my damn food. Nope, wouldn't listen. So I went home to my parents' house and made a lot of spaghetti, good spaghetti, knowing they would most certainly eat the whole thing. Sure enough, I get home to my dorm after a long day, and these 3, not even my roommates, girls are standing in the kitchen eating my spaghetti, and the huge bowl is almost gone. The one girl says to how much she loves it and wants to know how I made it. Straight-faced, I tell her that is a common meal we make on the farm. We go to the butcher and get head cheese, that's the meat in the spaghetti. She was confused, total city kids, and didn't know what head cheese was. I answer, well, it's pig brains. It's really good, isn't it? That's what most of my meals are made from. She throws my bowl of spaghetti down and runs to the bathroom, puking everywhere. The others took off out of the dorm running too. That is how I ended them stealing my food with such sweet petty revenge. Nobody touched my food ever again, nor did they talk to me, win-win. Also, the meat was not head cheese brains. It was pork sausage and very lean beef mixed together to resemble cooked pig brains. Edit, all right already, Jeesh. Head cheese is not brains is everything, but in my family we just use that term as all-encompassing. Every family has things like that, that's one of ours. Lighten up. I truly wish this wasn't true. I would have been a lot happier and ate better. These girls were the true definition of zero fucks given, no morals asshats. When I say puke everywhere, I mean everywhere in the bathroom and on the carpet just outside. She was already puking by the time she got to the bathroom, and puke painted the bathroom trying to get to the toilet. Thanks for all the comments, it's been fun to read your stories too.